We're not a family of super geniuses. I didn't work myself to death. But somehow we homeschooled high school and all of our children graduated early at 16 and went on to college. Hey, I'm Amanda from the Bealles, and the Bealles are my family, and I'm a veteran homeschool mom. I homeschooled all three of my children all the way through high school, and they all graduated, like I just mentioned, and have college educations and are functioning adults. So I always say that's by God's grace, because it totally is, because I just mentioned nothing special happening here. We're normal people, and so that should encourage you that you can do this too. I'm going to tell you how we did it, but first let me encourage you that homeschool has a lot of benefits, and this is definitely one of them. The thing with public school or even private school is that they have a very limited amount of time, and so your children can only take a limited amount of subjects, and they're forced to fall within that schedule because there's only so many months of the year that school falls on. So it takes them 4 years to complete a high school education. Whereas in our homeschool, our children could take between 9 and 10 courses a year, and they could also homeschool through the summer. So they're required 180 days of education here in North Carolina, and in our state you are allowed to school outside of the regular school schedule. It's not the same in every state, so again, make sure you know and understand and are in compliance with your state laws. But here we have the opportunity to school year round, and so just by doing 180 days, if we were to school say 7 days a week, which we could complete an entire school year in 26 weeks. But even if we did it 6 days a week, you could do it in 30 weeks, which means in 2.5 years you could have your high school education. So it's completely doable. We use a credit system, which means for each course that they take and complete, they get a credit. And by the end of high school, they will have completed a certain number of credits in order to graduate. And those credits generally have to be in certain subjects. We personally in our state are allowed to determine what subjects our children need in order to graduate. However, we based our credit system off the North Carolina the state college requirements, because the goal was that our children would go to college and they would probably end up going through the state college system, because we intended to put them in community college first and then transfer into the state college. Since I use the state college requirements to base our system off of, I'm going to tell you what our state college requires and what we actually required of our children when they graduated high school. Again, that's based on our state, what we can legally do here in homeschool, and what our state colleges require, and it's going to be different in other states. So make sure you check with and understand and are in compliance with your state laws when it comes to homeschooling. Also, if your child wants to go to a private college, and you need to be aware at the high school level what your children's goals are. It's imperative. Consider early on what their college goals are, because the credits and courses that they take are going to determine whether or not they can gain admission to the college of their choice. And you want to make sure they're meeting all of their goals. So look ahead at each college and determine what they require, and then you're going to base what you require of your child for graduation on those requirements, so that they're going to be able to meet their goals. You understand what I'm saying? I hate to interrupt you when we are talking about how to graduate your homeschooling high schooler early, but today is the last day of the Ultimate Bundles homeschool bundle sale. You get $1,300 worth of materials for $29.50. I'm going to tell you what they have: 13 ebooks, 8 e-courses, 22 workbooks and printable packs, 5 complete curricula, 2 membership sites, and a summit. For high school, they have a variety of materials. For instance, they have History of Plagues and Pandemics workbook, which, let me tell you something, that's super relevant right now. I'd almost be interested in just that. They have an ebook, Ultimate College Survival. They actually have a couple of college-related materials for high schoolers. And then my personal favorite, the Music Appreciation course. It's an e-course. Middle Ages through Classical Era for high school. If you do not have music lessons and you want to make sure your high schooler gets a credit for music, it's a $57 e-course. Right there, you're saving a tremendous amount of money for this $29.50 Ultimate Bundle. I have an affiliate link down in the description box. This is only on sale until tonight at midnight. If you want to grab it, get a hold of it. Eastern Standard Time. Get it while you can. This is it. Homeschool Bundle. Grab it. All right, back to homeschooling your high school and graduating them early. So we're going to start right off the bat with English. Our state college requires 4 credits of English. Now, we also require 4 credits of English, only we add in addition to that 3 credits of literature. So 7 credits in total. But just to make sure that our children are completely prepared for college. The way that we do that and the way that we work 4 English credits into 3 years, 9th and 11th grade are grammar focused, and 10th and 12th are composition focused. So they have grammar, composition, and then the 3rd year, which they do 11th and 12th grade at the same time, they'll do grammar and composition. So they're able to do 2 courses in 1 year. In addition to that, like I said, they do 3 years of literature, American literature, English literature, and world literature, generally speaking. So we more than meet the state college standard here in North Carolina when it comes to high school English credits and courses. North Carolina also requires 2 foreign language credits. Now, of course, this is at this time, so double check. It might be different whenever you watch this, but 2 foreign language credits. I taught the boys Spanish because I'm familiar with Spanish. I took 5 years of Spanish. I lived in a Spanish-speaking population for a while, so I felt comfortable teaching it, but don't feel discouraged if you can't teach your children Spanish or any foreign language. If you don't speak it, there are tons of great materials out there, which I'll talk about in my high school curriculum recommendation video. But there's so many things out there to help people learn how to speak a foreign language. You don't need to have mastered it in order to teach it. So 2 credits, that's all there is to it, and your child can totally spend 2 years studying a language that you don't speak. Math. I know you're waiting on math. Math is the scariest, and they require, most colleges, 4 years of math. But I want to encourage you on this idea of math, okay? Because this is the thing that really freaks people out is high school level maths. You don't have to feel pressure to get your child all the way through calculus and physics in order to prepare them for college. I know that goes against what everyone else tells you, but it is not necessary, and you don't have to feel like you have to teach it. In fact, I usually recommend to people at the high school level, especially if they're graduating their children early or perhaps considering dual enrollment, that you definitely do not teach your child higher level maths if you do not feel comfortable with it. Because with the advent of dual enrollment and with the opportunity to graduate early comes the opportunity for your child to go to the college and learn those upper level maths and get college credit for it. It's not complicated, it's affordable, it's certainly comparable to the cost of homeschooling. So I would definitely say don't worry about that in terms of sending your child to college unless they want to go to a college that requires certain courses for entrance. But generally speaking, if you're going the community college to state college route like we did, you don't need to worry about it. They will learn it at their college and get the credit there. And they'll also learn how to master those maths in the college way. So leave it to the college. Don't stress yourself out about it. And if you are also worried, well, if they don't take those maths, how are they going to be prepared for the SAT so they can go to college? Well, let me encourage you this. I wrote it down because I wanted to make sure I'm giving you the correct information. Years ago, they used to separate the SAT into certain percentages based on whether or not it was algebra or geometry or trigonometry. And recently they changed it a little bit, and that's actually in favor of algebra. I usually, like I said, don't recommend that people go beyond algebra 2 or geometry unless they feel really confident. And the great thing about that is the SAT. It says 90% of the SAT is divided into 3 categories. The heart of algebra, which is focused on linear equations. Passport to advanced math, which is nonlinear equations focused. And then problem solving and data analysis that includes questions on rates, ratios, percentages, and data from graphs and tables. Only 10% of SAT math is classified as additional topics, which includes geometry, trigonometry, and problems with complex numbers. So if you're serious about improving your child's SAT scores, you should be super focused on making sure that they know algebra very, very well. It's 90% of what they're going to be graded on. And rest assured that if you need extra study, there's lots of courses and things out there available to help them get better scores. But again, your child doesn't need the SAT to go to college, especially if they're going to go community college to state college route, which is inexpensive and usually very close by. There's a lot of great benefits to that I highly recommend. One of my children took the SAT and the other 2 didn't. It wasn't necessary. So don't freak out about it like your child can't go to college if they don't take the SAT. They can. and they can do very well. But if you are interested in it, then you can just feel secure that if your child studies their algebra well, then they will be sufficiently prepared for it. We personally did Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, and a Business Math. Those were our 4 high school maths. Brian, I mentioned in another video, did use the Saxon mathematics books to teach himself all the way up through calculus after high school. So he did enjoy that, but my other 2 did as little as possible, and that's perfectly reasonable because Ricky was an art major. And so he didn't need higher maths in order to achieve his goals. Brianna is studying agribusiness, and she has completed the maths that she needs to be able to function in the agribusiness world. And it's not necessary that she stress out about calculus when she can be focused on things that are more inclined towards the direction that she feels she's going with her future. That'll save you a lot of stress, a lot of time. Just focus on your child's interests and abilities at the high school level, and that will help them to prepare for their future, and you can feel confident that they are ready for whatever they need to do and graduate early. So science, in our state you're required 3 sciences, 1 biological science, 1 physical science, and 1 lab science. And we do physical science, biology, and chemistry. And we are blessed in that our local homeschool co-op has a biology lab every few years. And so all of my children dissected frogs and did the whole biology lab thing. We have videos and pictures of it, and it was certainly interesting. But there are a lot of great materials out there that you can use to make sure your children are getting their labs in. And there's even a lot of online labs that they can kind of follow along with and do their own at home along with it. So don't feel like it's impossible. You can definitely complete a lab science at home, and you don't need to, have the whole worry about somebody blowing up your house or anything. they're done well, and they're for children at home. So feel secure in that. You can do that. I do want to recommend, though, that volunteering. I required all of my children to volunteer before they graduated high school, and a lot of the volunteer worked really well as a supplement alongside of their science curriculum. My younger son Ricky volunteered at the Western North Carolina Nature Center, and he worked in their Young Naturalist and Young Curator program, and he learned far more about biology than he ever would have learned in a book just by experiencing taking care of the animals at this. It's a zoo, so experiencing taking care of the animals there. Brian volunteered at a hospital. For a long time, he really wanted to be a doctor. And so when he volunteered at the hospital, he did that because I thought he should be 100% certain before he really started pursuing this medical school thing, because it was going to take a long time and a lot of money. And it was a good thing, because when he went and volunteered, he decided that it was not for him. And instead, Brian got a bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in entrepreneurship and a minor in business law, which suits him much better. But there was a lot of science that he learned at the hospital that he wasn't going to learn in the book. So just being around the doctors and nurses, you pick up a lot of things. My daughter Brianna volunteered at the Carl Sandburg home, which, being Carl Sandburg, not only did she learn about science, she learned about literature. But she actually volunteered in the portion where they actually had a goat barn, because his wife raised goats, so she worked with the goats. And again, learned a lot about biology and animal care. And so everything went right along with their science curriculum, particularly biology, which again is a requirement. I highly recommend finding volunteer opportunities that support your science curriculum, or maybe even another area. Like I said, she had one with literature. Maybe there's a historical opportunity for you. But volunteer programs, first of all, they supplement learning. Second of all, they look really great on a transcript. Then they're required 2 social studies. One has to be a U.S. history. So we do a lot. We do world history, U.S. history, and we require government. But Brian, my oldest son, also took economics and geography. We like to make sure our kids have a solid foundation in terms of history. But there's really not much to say about history because it's so straightforward. You just want to make sure they have the courses that they need and they have a basic understanding of history. So if you add all of those credits up, all those requirements that I just told you, our state requires to graduate for the college only 15 credits. Now, when I graduated high school, I needed 18 credits to graduate. Rick had to have 21 credits and volunteer work in order to graduate. Because we do 9 to 10 credits a year and our children go for 3 years, you're looking at between 27 and 30 credits before they graduate. And that's, even though they're doing it in a shorter amount of time, they're still achieving more than enough to meet the credit requirements of the state and the college level. But just understand that depending on your state, you're allowed to choose how many credits are required for graduation. And like public school systems, those requirements can change. You can up them or take them down depending on the needs of your homeschool and your child. So feel confident that whatever number that you set, just make sure you're cognizant of what their goals are for the future and that they're well prepared for it. One thing I want to mention to you is when you're preparing your children for college in the high school, that you are also trying to take courses that prepare them for CLEP exams if possible. The CLEP program is basically one where you take a test and you get college credit for it. So we actually tried to make sure that we were not only teaching our children whatever we could in high school, but also, if possible, we wanted them to learn enough that they could take a test and get college level credit for it. So with this program that we just laid out that we required of our children, Brian was able to take CLEP exams and learn college credit in English, literature, and history. In addition to that, he was a National Merit Scholar Commended student. With his awards and volunteer work, he was given these offers to apply at different Ivy League colleges, and we still turned it down because we wanted him to stay local. But the point is that he was more than prepared. He completed his associate's degree in 1 year with those CLEP exams, and he was able to get his bachelor's at 19. So you can definitely do it. My younger son, Ricky, he completed his associates in advertising graphic design and then moved to Wisconsin to work in camp ministry, and he has remained up there. Of course, with COVID and everything, the camp is kind of closed down right now, but he's still working and functioning and getting married in September, and I'm very happy about that. So he's a functioning adult. And then you have my daughter, Brianna, who just finished her first year. She's 17 now. She just finished her first year of community college. She's in the agribusiness program. She has a 4.0, and she's doing very, very well. So I'm telling you, you don't have to overdo it. Your children can do well in college and get jobs and do fine, even if they graduate at 16. You can do it. It's really as simple as just figuring out what their goals are and what credits they need to meet those goals and what credits you need to make sure you're meeting the state's requirements. It's a little bit of planning, a little bit of preparation. Frankly, you should be starting in the middle school ages to try to think, you know, if you're going to get to a certain math at a certain time, you have to make sure they're starting it early enough so that they hit that goal. Otherwise, you're going to be, you know, working through summers and things like that. But if you plan, you can totally do it and make sure your child is prepared. Early graduation has meant more years working and definitely less young people frustration, because I got to tell you, right around the time they turn 19, they start getting really tired of school and they really want to get out there in the real world. So the sooner they can get it together and get that degree and move on with real life, the happier they'll be and the happier you'll be. So if this is something you're considering, check out your local laws for sure. And definitely check out the colleges your child is considering and get those plans going. You can do this. You can homeschool your child through high school and they can graduate early and still be prepared. So that's all I have for today. If you have any questions or comments, you can put those down below. Also, please follow us at the Bealles on Facebook and Instagram. And I have some resources down in the description box if you are interested, and some might be affiliate links, so just be aware of that. It doesn't cost you anything, but it just helps us out and supports us so we can continue what we're doing here. Also, we have our website, thebealles.com, which should be up this week. I'm very excited about it, so I hope you'll check that out. So anyway, that's it. You guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye!